Santa Claus, I think, is high as fuck throughout this entire movie. John, your thoughts?
First off, he's got himself a little bourbon and cognac just in his system for warmth. In terms of just keeping himself completely happy, he's got himself a little bit of PCP and ecstasy. Everything is just going to feel good. Everything's going to make him laugh real good. Then he's got a couple of poppers and Molly just to open his butthole in case things get weird. And finally, ketamine, just because.
So him and Hunter S. Thompson should go to Vegas is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, joined my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
This one is in honor of all of the Earth children.
Yes, the Earth children who are watching too much Earth programs on television.
Brian, you got that lovely green in the background.
I know. I was wondering if you were going to notice, John, because I figured, since I always do red because like our colors are red and black and white, and that's kind of our thing. I don't have, a Cinema Psycho show signal in the sky or anything like that.
That'd be cool.
That would be so cool. But I decided, for our video audience, for those who are watching us on YouTube, which shame on you, you should be watching us on YouTube. I've got the green in the background because we're going to be talking about Martians today. Well, John, why would we be talking about Martians around Christmas time?
Because we're just contrary assholes like that. No, we are talking about, there are so many weird specials and movies out there, but I think this one takes the cake, or takes the pill form of cake, as the weirdest goddamn Christmas movie to ever exist, and that is Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
The Martians, right? Not The Martians, it's The Martians. Yeah, I will be completely honest with you all, folks. I have not looked forward to this review at all. Truth be told, this is the second time that I've had to watch Santa Claus Conquers the Martians because
I've seen it 7 times.
That's 7 times too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think watching like one clip from YouTube is just good enough. But truth be told, we were gonna do this one last year. I remember because
before that, this one's been cursed.
Was it the year before that?
I think we tried it like the past 2 years, and it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah,
the fates did not want us to discuss this movie.
Well, I think last year we got close to recording because you actually had me watch this, and I sat through it, and I just kept going like, why the fuck is John making me sit through this terrible, terrible fucking movie? But I did it because I love this man. And we went and saw Nosferatu at an advanced screener.
Much better movie. And keep an eye out for that review coming out next week, just in time for Christmas. It's a nice little present from us. I was telling John in the theater, I was like, I'm gonna have to watch Santa Claus Conquers the Martians again, aren't I? And he's like, yeah, you're gonna have to. And I did today because I really was putting it off. I didn't want to sit through this one again. But that's the benefit, though, of this movie being public domain on YouTube, is that it's relatively easy to find, and it's only like, 80 minutes long. That jump in quality, that's like watching Citizen Kane, and it's like, now let's go home and watch Biodome.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you watch a movie like Nosferatu, and you then jump to Santa Claus Conquers the Martian, and it's like, hey, yeah, that amazing steak that you just have right there, that filet mignon that's been sous vide and crusted over and perfectly seasoned. Yeah, here's a giant shit.
Well, here's a
giant candy cane shit right on top of it.
Here's an interesting quick sidebar. I don't know how many people remember this, but in the year 2000, for those that love to go and do double features on what comes out on a specific weekend, is Requiem for a Dream and Dude, Where's My Car came out on the same weekend.
That seems fitting.
There's a double feature for you.
What would you call Well, I was going to say, like, we're so used to the Barbenheimer thing. What would you call that? What would be the name for that?
Requiem for a Dude.
Requiem for a Dude. Oh, man.
Dude, where's my dream?
Dude, where's my ass to ass? Oh, horrible. I still can't watch that movie on regular rotation. That has to be like a once a decade viewing of just to make sure that, hey, yeah, I'm still human, still I have emotions inside, and they have to be tested through that gauntlet of a film.
Watch that and Deliverance back. There's a double feature.
Yeah. You know, these are all like movies, John, that aren't Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Right. Well, can I just say real quick? 1964, this movie comes out. So this movie comes out 1 year after Kennedy's eaten a bullet. And
wow.
we were just babies, you know. But here's like a little bit of production background for like who in God's name would make a movie like this. The film was the idea of producer Paul Jacobson, who had worked in video production and wanted to move into features. He hired some people to develop an idea and hired Nicholas Webster to direct and made the film through his own production company. His thinking was that he saw a perceived gap in the market, except for Disney. There was very little film houses that recognized children as their own. So I guess he thought, well, let's see. What do kids like? Santa Claus. What's really popular right now? The space race. And he just put the two together like a complete and total sociopath.
I mean, he's not entirely wrong on this. I would agree with him on one point that children's movies at this time really were only made by Disney. You know, you really didn't have specific movies directed towards children. So I get that. I totally do. You know, this is around the same time where you still have creature features that are directed more towards teenagers and sci-fi films that are more on the B side that are directed towards teenagers. But yeah, not really towards kids. So on that side, I get to him. But it's also a thing where, like, just because you have an idea doesn't mean it's a good one. It doesn't mean that the execution of it will be well done. Because that's the thing too, right? You can have this amazing idea, but if you can't execute it properly and it falls flat on its face, it's still a failure, right? Like, I would love to have a flying car, you know, like in Back to the Future Part 2. And I've always said that we're not at the future until I have a flying car. So we're not there yet. But I'm not an engineer. So even though I would love to have a flying fucking car, I don't know the first thing about engineering. So I'm not going to try to make a flying car.
Well,
okay.
That's a good point, brother, that you make, is that they didn't have the money nor the means to live up to the standard of a Mars movie. And, you know, Brian and I have both met, not to be like a name dropper, but
we're going to be name droppers.
Russ Streiner and John Russo, excuse me.
Yeah.
For Night of Living Dead, one of the writers and one of the producers, you know, and they talked about they wanted these kind of like elaborate, big Hollywood ideas, but then they would go around the room being like, we got like $50. We can't do Western. We can't do a sci-fi movie. You know, we can't do this. We can't do that. So Night of Living Dead, you know, you would thought like, oh, it was this eureka moment. No, it was something they settled on because they thought we have the money and the ability to make this. And nobody making Santa Claus Conquers the Martians said, we don't really have the money to build rocket ship sets. We don't really have money to build the North Pole. We don't have money to build like sets on Mars and get good costumes. We don't have costume designers. We don't have makeup people. We have hundreds of $1,000 dreams on hundreds of dollar, you know, realities. And nobody decided to rein this in. They went, oh no, we'll just make it for $20 and kids are stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they went into this thinking like, oh, kids are stupid. It doesn't matter. We don't need to worry about plot and character and costumes and, you know, not terrifying children with kidnapping them. and shipping them off to Mars, because that quite literally is the plot of this film, is kidnapping children and Santa Claus and shipping his ass off to Mars.
Well, wait, correct me if I'm wrong, but they kidnap kids so there's like no witnesses, but then Miss Claus says Santa was kidnapped by Martians, so why did they kidnap the kids in the first place?
Well, they got, Mrs. Claus and the elves did get zapped by a whammo air gun. So,
available in toy stores everywhere.
Available in toy stores everywhere. And apparently that it was only a temporary thing. So, I mean, obviously she saw the green men, and she saw Santa Claus and the giant robot made out of cardboard. So, she put two and two together. But I think for me, the scary part was like the one Martian, Voldar, trying to kill the children and Santa Claus.
Well, remember on
shooting
Mars,
them out of an airlock.
Yeah. Mars, like, children are basically adults, so there's no.
That is what we've been
there.
told. That's what we've been told, is that they're adult children.
But look, let's go back in case anybody's like, "What is Santa Claus Conquers the Martians?" So, apparently, in the scoop of the century, a news reporter is right outside of Santa's workshop, which fairly small, but it is what it is. It's Christmas magic, whatever. But he says it's like negative
Christmas magic.
It's like it's negative 90 below zero, but he's perfectly fine in his like light jacket. But then the reception is so good on this channel that it goes to Mars, and the Mars children are seeing this, and like all the Mars elders are kind of like, kids are acting weird. They want to be like kids or something. And so one of the elder of the Mars planet says, "You guys need to bring Santa Claus here to get the kids straight. He's this Earth being." And yeah, of course, a bunch of kids see them kidnapping Santa, and then the kids go, and then there's a big thing at the North Pole. They kidnap Santa. They're back on Mars. Shenanigans ensue. In case anybody's a little curious about the plot who doesn't know what's going on here. And Brian, one thing that's a fun fact: this is the first representation of Mrs. Claus in a live action movie.
I did notice that fact, and it's sad that this is the first one. That forever, Mrs. Claus was put under the archetype of what this movie came out with, which is just embarrassing. Like literally, she becomes giddy because she's on television. Which that the first point of why I hate this movie so much,
yeah,
is and this is worth me going to solo shot here. Okay, so here's point number one: why Brian hates Santa Claus Conquers the Martians so much. Everyone believes and knows that Santa Claus is real and doesn't question it at all. That's like you mentioned before, John, that there's a correspondent at the North Pole freezing his ass off in negative 90 degrees, and then he's sitting at Santa's workshop and just like, wow, this is Santa Claus, the person everybody knows that, we know that, he's just buddies with Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus, he's down the hall. Why? He's real too. And, everyone just is eating it up, and just, yeah, we all know that. And also on top of that, Mars is real and Martians are real. We all know that too. So it's like the suspension of disbelief. And I know this is a kid's movie, and Santa Claus, is a character, but it just so weird that everyone buys into this. It kind of reminds me of Hot Frosty, the episode that we did. That's a bonus episode if you subscribe to our newsletter. And one of the complaints I had about that was that everyone bought into the whole fact that the snowman came alive and no one questioned it. And that's kind of the same thing here. It's not like Santa's a mysterious character. Everybody fucking knows. John, did you find that weird?
No, because I would say that the universe just accepts that Santa Claus is real. To me, it makes a lot more sense than the Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
See, that makes more sense to me, though. That makes more sense because it's like, let's try to weave why Santa Claus is still in reality considered a myth and not a real character, but behind the scenes is actually a real character with magic and all sorts of shit. It's not presented as like, oh yes, we all know Santa exists. And that's why, like, in Santa Claus 3, when the secret of Santa is kind of revealed to everyone and Jack Frost is selling tickets to the North Pole, which, yes, I have seen all 3, the Santa Claus movies.
I've had in-laws. I've seen it. Yeah.
When you have kids, you see it. But, you know, that one is like, that's kind of weird and it's off-putting. And that's why it's a plot point in the third one that's kind of counter to the whole narrative. But I just found it really strange in this one that everyone and their mother is just like, well, yes, Santa Claus is real. He's right there. See, he's on Earth television. Don't question it, moron.
The fact that there's just existence on highly intelligent existence on other planets, like, and we're just like, that to me is more upsetting than is like the fact that Santa Claus is just known to the world and it's on national television.
Yeah, you would think that in 1964, with us in the middle of the space race to go to the moon, that, you know, there would be some mystery about the whole life on Mars thing. Not in this movie. Nope. We know that there's Martians, and we've got tons of stock footage of us trying to, you know, mount an attack.
Oh yeah,
this movie goes through the Edward D. Wood Jr.
You said it.
University of Filmmaking. John, what do I mean by that?
So this movie has what is called in the biz padding. And not just
padding. It's got a thick pad on this boy.
Yeah. And it's not just padding in a sense of like time fill, but I guess back in the day, they figured that nobody would be able to tell the footage that was being shot for the film against stock footage. And so when the military is preparing a response to Santa Claus being kidnapped, they just ordered up every stock footage that the U.S. military and anybody had. And so they could just cut together a bunch of footage of soldiers running around with machine guns and planes going off and tanks going down the street. And you would think, oh, that's probably what, 30 seconds here, 20 seconds there. No, it's minutes on end because they had to get the movie to feature length. They didn't have enough movie for feature length. They're like, well, we got all this stock footage. We'll just pad it and pretend it's our footage, and it'll people will know the difference.
Yeah, this movie is made for morons. John, didn't you know that?
Yeah,
they shouldn't. Don't question it. Yeah, we're gonna show things that are unrelated to it, and oh yeah, we're gonna have some fake German guy to represent Werner von Braun as the head of NASA. When they cut to that, and I love how, you know, you can tell it's really bad when when they cut to someone who's being interviewed and they just frame it in the most weird, like, filmic way possible. So like it doesn't match at all like what you would see on television. So like they're talking to the head of NASA space operations, and he's, you know, a caricature of Werner von Braun. And yeah, he's just like, yes, well, with the Germans, we're going to go save Santa Claus with our rocket ships. And the astronauts are already volunteering.
By the way, after, you know, the judgment in Nuremberg, I think NASA should have had said, this is our head astronaut and former Nazi. Like, I think that should have been part of admit it. Admit it, damn it, NASA.
Yeah. I mean, we know now. Yeah. We know now. That's why. Have you ever watched hell is it the Apple TV For All Mankind show?
I've heard of it.
If you like space and history and like alternative like timelines, watch that one, because that particular plot point comes up really prominently in the first season. But yeah, no, it just was funny because obviously Werner von Braun at the time was doing you know, these ABC and Disney Channel type of, not Disney Channel, but just Disney produced, you know, kind of infomercials about space travel, and was known in America as, oh yeah, he's the NASA guy. You know, he's going to get us to the moon. So it's like they took that caricature and just made it this very weird German one that didn't fit.
I do love post World War II, and I know this isn't accurate to history, but it's like Joseph Goebbels, what do? I come up with an incredible propaganda against your country. Bang, dead. Hey, blah, blah, what do? I'm a rocket scientist. Can you benefit us? Yes, you're hired.
Yeah, hypocrisy. Yay.
Yay. Yeah.
So, we talked a bit about the plot, if you want to call it that. I want to go a little bit into some of these characters. Okay. Let's go to some of these characters. First, let's talk about fucking Santa Claus. Santa Claus, I think, is high as fuck throughout this entire movie. John, your thoughts?
I think this poor man is giving it his all. I don't know if he's an actor or just...
He is an actor. His name's John Call. I only know that because I'm looking at IMDb right now.
Okay. He's doing his best, which is not great. But there's a lot to be said. Some actors, just like Tom Hanks or pick your favorite, they show up and they give a great performance no matter how big a production, how silly of a production, what have you. Some actors, if they're not directed right and they know the movie's going to be crap, they just phone it in. And I wonder if this journeyman actor, wait, I'm playing Santa Claus in a Martian movie and it's clear that the budget is $2 and a couple of fish sticks. Yeah, I'm not going to try very hard in this.
I get that to a point, but okay, for one, the movie is called Santa Claus Conquers the Martians and you're Santa Claus.
But he doesn't conquer anything.
He doesn't conquer shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I get that they have no money and all, and that I understand. But he's the star of it because he's Santa Claus, okay? But every scene that Santa Claus is in, he just kind of seems like he is high on all the drugs, just all of them. You name them, okay? Because I mentioned before about one of the Martians trying to kill Santa Claus and the children by opening up an airlock and shoving them out into space. Okay, terrifying concept. The kids are freaking out, and what is Santa Claus doing? Wandering around like a dawdling fool, going, "Oh no, oh no, oh." While you've got Billy who's knocking on the door, I don't want to die, and saying, "Oh no, oh, this is bad." It's what? But that's not all the scenes where he's acting like that. At the end, when the Martians and the children are pulling a toys ending on them, and if you know what I mean, you know what I mean, throwing all the toys at the main villain to stop him. Santa Claus is sitting there with his eyes crossed, laughing, ho, 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 and just looks like he is stoned to shit.
Okay, well, Brian, let's break it down.
All right, let's break it down.
First off, he's got himself a little bourbon and cognac, and it just in his system for warmth, okay?
I say that man is smoking the Chiba.
Oh, I'm going to get
there. Smoking so much weed.
I'm going to get there. He's got the best strands thanks to the elf. So, yeah, that is just strands. Absolutely to calm his nerves. Now, in terms of just keeping himself completely happy, he's got himself a little bit of PCP and ecstasy. That is going to just have him. Everything is just going to feel good. Everything's going to make him laugh real good. Then he's got a couple of poppers and Molly just to open his butthole in case things get weird. And finally, ketamine just because.
So him and Hunter S. Thompson should go to Vegas, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta have a pint of ether, some uppers and downers,
a 6-pack of Paps. Yeah.
Oh, jeez, Christ. Oh man, that would be a crossover episode right there. And honestly, that would be a thing that I would love to see AI do. Is give me a shot of Hunter S. Thompson and Santa Claus in her red top car. Driving through the desert to Las Vegas. That would be a hell of a thing to see.
Don't stop here. This is elf country.
It's elf country. Oh shit. But I'm just saying, I get that he probably is not being paid anything, but you can't take a fucking thing this man says seriously. But I will say this, to give him a little bit of credit, he does do a good Santa, and he does look the part, even though his mannerisms make me think that he is on all of the substances. He does come off as jolly and, just kind of like a hapless fool.
See, I thought that Mrs. Claus did all the drugs when she was on TV and had that panic attack orgasm.
Yeah, it looked like a panic attack orgasm. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, that was a panic attack orgasm on
that has to be the most
wide television.
That would be a heart attack. I feel like your body wouldn't know how to feel. Utter panic plus utter satisfaction. It's like that's a horrible combination.
It's like the first time that you have one of an orgasm and you're just like, what the hell did I just do?
Yeah.
I just broke my body.
Yeah.
That's what she had, first one. All right, so that's Santa Claus. Let's talk about some Martians.
You mean like Boy Mar, Girl Mar, Dad Mar, and Mom Mar, or whatever?
Well, that's Kimar because he's the king, right?
He's the king.
He's the king. Momar, Lady Momar, because she's the mom. Get it? Voldar because he's the villain. Get it? And Dropo because he's dumbass.
Oh, we haven't talked about Dropo.
We haven't talked about Dropo.
The greatest character in film history.
Let's talk about Dropo. Let's talk about Dropo.
Yeah, Dropo is a shit-eating idiot. He's supposed to be the comic relief, but I feel that it's up there in the Mount Rushmore with Jar Jar Binks.
That's brutal. That's brutal.
Yeah, he's supposed to be hilarious, like this incompetent boob, but I feel that you could only like him ironically, like I do. Like when I watch this and he does something stupid, I'm like, classic vintage Dropo.
Well, he's like what's his face from Manos, the Hands of Fate.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what his name is because we're recording at like 10:30 at night. But you know what I'm talking about. The one weirdo, and every bad movie has one of those, right? Every bad movie has a Dropo. Okay, The Room has a Dropo. His name's Tommy Wiseau.
Well, accidentally a Dropo.
Or the MeUndies guy. The MeUndies guy. That guy. I mean, think about it. Even the Troll 2 has a Dropo.
The absurdist comic relief. Like it's more. You see more of it in like cartoons. Like Dropo seems like he's a human cartoon. Like I expected an anvil to fall on his head and he would like open an umbrella to protect from the anvil, like Looney Tunes style. That's what Dropo comes off to me as.
Fun little fact here. Apparently they were considering doing a remake of Santa Claus Conquers the Martian in early 2000. And guess who was rumored to be cast as Dropo?
Jim Carrey.
Yes, that's it. That's exactly what it is. You knew that already, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Well, it was gonna be produced by David
Scout's
Zucker.
Honor.
It was gonna be produced by David Zucker. So he was gonna do.
There you go. Yeah, those two always work together. Yeah, no, Scout's Honor. I did not. I just figured that sounds about right.
Well, as you said, he's kind of a human cartoon, and Dropo is so fucking goofy. Like he is not in control of his own bodily functions. Like I don't know what his purpose is in the order on Mars. Like, is he like Kilmar's servant or Kimar? Excuse me, not Kilmar. That would be a much cooler name. But it's like he is a servant. Just kind of a pet. Like I don't get what Dropo's role is.
Run, I wouldn't think too hard about it.
Well, we know that he eventually becomes the Martian Santa.
Right. That reminds me of the movie Hook, where for all that have seen the movie Hook, at the end of that movie, Robin Williams as Peter gives the sword to the most useless person.
Oh, that's mean. That's mean. He's not useless. He's just a child that's been around for like 30 years.
There were other kids that would maybe like any of the other Lost Boys would have been.
Rufio's dead.
Rufio's dead. Yeah.
So you can't give it to him. It's either him or like the little blonde kid who's 5.
But
so, there you go.
And the thing is, like, I think that Dropo was supposed to make the little kids laugh, but he's not funny enough for the little kids, and he's too annoying for the adults. Like, I think what we have here is just a spectacular failure.
In Dropo, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Dropo is just he just whenever he's on screen, you're just like, please, let's just get through this scene. Like when he is trying to fatten himself up by eating, chocolate cake pills. Because Santa Claus says you can't wear my suit until you fatten yourself up. So good job, Santa. You're giving Dropo body dysmorphia. Just thanks for that, you fucker. So Dropo decides to borrow the suit and put it on and start eating a bunch of Martian meal pills to try to fatten himself up. And that's when he gets kidnapped by Voldar and his minions.
Because Voldar thinks Santa has a green face like the Martians have. And antennas.
Well, let's be honest here. Voldar is the dumbest fucking villain ever. Like, he is the villain the first time that Kimar even like calls on all of his buddies to come up, because Voldar is the only one who's just like, yes, Kimar, like, it's like, I don't want to be bothered by you at all. And like his whole deal is he just doesn't want children to have fun. He thinks it makes them weak. Okay.
That's why they need Santa.
They need Santa because the children, the children are acting like adults, and Voldar is cool with that. He doesn't want them weak like earthlings.
But, Brian, this whole production, because I don't want us to forget. So we need to mention the fact that there is a human being in a polar bear outfit that is he's supposed to be a real polar bear when they're in the North Pole. As Brian mentioned, there's a robot that's made out of cardboard. This whole thing, and I'm not knocking anybody in this business, so I'm not knocking anybody that is an industrial video type person or a television person. Because when I say television, I'm thinking about with 60s when this came out, like people that run cameras for the news, things like that, not Breaking Bad or, any of the high end television shows we have now. Is that this is a group of people that came from industrial and television with no money, and they only know how to shoot things on the cheap, quickly, stagnantly, uncreatively. And I'm not saying that these people are not creative, but that's how they've been ingrained on how to make things. And this film absolutely reeks of it. And I don't think that back then in the 60s that they had the term fix it and post. I think that's the luxury of modern day nonlinear editors. But I think like, hey, that guy in the polar bear outfit doesn't like kind of look authentic. Well, they probably said whatever the 60s version of, well, we'll fix it in post. We'll cut around it and we'll do close-ups, and the people won't realize it's not a real polar bear.
Well, it's funny you bring up that this kind of feels like a TV show. I was even noticing that there are like the sound bridges that you hear when you're about to go to a commercial break in this. Yeah. And this is not a TV show. Like, this was not a TV movie. This was actually a meant for theatrical distribution film. Like, this was not done to only go to, say, local TV stations. This was put in theaters, and it actually probably made its budget in its initial screenings. Like, I believe it did. I think it only cost $200,000 to make, and it made that back because it was widely distributed. It was terrible, but kids went to it.
This thing cost $200,000.
Yes, $200,000 to make in 1964 money. Yeah.
All right, Brian, keep talking. I'm going to go to inflation calculator on my phone.
Oh God. well, my point is that this has the tropes of a TV show and not a movie. So like you are hearing these sound bridges that would lead into a commercial, and these weird cuts that are like, what? Sounds like you would put a commercial here and not just cut to the next scene. So it's very strange. The the way that this is constructed from an editing standpoint, let alone the fact that the production design on this thing is like, made with 5 cents and a cup of coffee. So, John, do you have an inflation calculation yet?
Okay. All right. So you said 200,000.
200,000. Yeah.
Okay. 000. Okay. And calculator says that was $2 million.
Sounds about right.
This movie cost
this
modern
was before
day
digital. This is before digital, John. So they had to actually
pay for all that film stock. Yeah.
Film stock, and they had to get a location, and they had to use lighting and camera gear and all sorts of shit. So yeah, that's what they had to do.
And you had to run cameras during all that Dropo improv. You didn't want
all the Dropo improv, all the Dropo. But let's talk. I just to keep going on these characters here.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got Dropo. I mentioned how Voldar is the worst villain. He literally is the only Martian with a mustache, so he quite literally is being a mustache-twirling villain. And I love the fact that he tries to kill Santa and the children in the most bloodthirsty way. Like, did you notice that he actually was like seething with happiness as the clock was counting down to open the airlock? Like, he was happy.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't just beat them to death with a rock and then fuck like the necks, like after he destroyed the heads, just fuck their necks. Yeah.
I don't get why he was just like so happy to kill them. But I love the fact too that Santa is like, yeah, you know what? I'm so high as fuck. I know you're trying to kill me. It's cool. Don't worry about it. It was accidental. Like, he literally says, oh yeah, Voldar accidentally tried to kill me. No biggie. We're good.
Santa's pretty chill that way.
Well, when you are hopped up on all of the drugs, you don't take anything seriously.
It's like ketamine,
It's all the ketamine. But
yeah, dog Voldar, tranquilizers he took.
So kind of rounding out our cast are the children, both Martian and human.
Both fighting for which are the worst child actors.
Which one do you think was the worst one? I think Pia Zadora. Did you not like her? Because she only got like 5 lines in this movie.
I think the children. I think the human children were worse actors.
Oh yeah, the Billy and Betty. That's their names, Billy and Betty Foster. Because find the most generic names. But and Billy especially is exposition city in this movie. Everything he explains.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that none of them are like concerned that their parents might be worried where the fuck they're at.
It's the 60s.
It's the 60s.
Just get home by the end of the week and you'll be fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not fine. It's not fine. This movie's fucking terrible, John. What else? Oh, yeah, there's a power struggle on Mars between Voldar and Kimar. Don't know why that's there, but it is. Kimar actually like beats the fucking piss out of Voldar after he tries to kill Santa and the kids.
There's a huge civil war happening,
Yeah, see, a more interesting movie would be like, let's explore that. Like let's do that. Let's focus on the civil war between Voldar and Kimar, and the whole idea of we want our children to be stuck in being serious and not have fun and be addicted to brain conditioning done through their sleep. And Kimar is like, I think we need to have children be children. That would be a more interesting movie, don't you think?
Yeah, anything would be.
I really, really dislike this film. The ending of this movie is more or less a 10-minute long fever dream. That's the best description for it.
Well, after Santa and the kids are turned into slave labor for making toys for the Mars kids. Yeah, and they finally decide. How do they even decide to let Santa go home?
Well, what happens is Voldar escapes captivity on the rocket ship when they land. Kimar turns Santa and the children into not, I don't have to call them slaves, but they're just like guests that have to stay there.
Yeah.
And will never be able to return to Earth ever again.
Oh, it's like that woman, that rich girl who was brainwashed into help robbing the banks.
Yes.
Oh God, I can't think of her name.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know you're talking about. But yes, it's kind of like that. So, but they're told, hey, you can never return to Earth again. You're now our Santa, and you have to build our factory and do things for our children. So anyway, that's where the whole thing with Dropo comes in, because he pretends to be Santa. Voldar tries to kidnap Santa and sabotage the workshop. And while this is going on, Voldar tries to like blackmail Kimar by saying, I've got your Santa Claus. Good job. He's in the next room.
And I have those ass photos, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And oh yeah, but it couldn't spend 5 seconds to look at Santa Claus's face and realize that he has green skin because he's fucking Dropo. But yeah, that leads.
And Dropo smells like garlic and piss.
Oh, absolutely.
Too. He's like, Santa smells like Dropo.
I figure that Dropo would smell like a can of French fried onion rings. You know that smell?
Yeah. Oh, maybe cotton candy and dog food.
It could be that.
Yeah.
Rotten dog food. Because Dropo is not bathing. They don't bathe on Mars. Someone on Mars, like, let's say like our broadcasts are going out to the airwaves in the universe, and someone on Mars will be like, well, fuck you guys. I do absolutely bathe. And I don't smell like, French fried onion rings and dog shit.
Bazooka Joe, gum, and dead aardvark. I think maybe.
But yeah, the whole fever dream thing happens because Voldar goes in with his air blaster from Whammo, trying to kill Billy and Betty and Kimar's kids and Santa Claus. And instead of like attack them with like, weapons and shit, they have all the toys just kind of attack Voldar, and that's enough. But the thing is, and why I say it's like a fever dream, is because like they stay on this sequence for like 5 minutes.
Got to pad that runtime, Brian.
Oh my God. But you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like Batman from the 60s. Like whenever they would have like a fight and pow and punch and all that shit.
Yeah.
Or even like the Bat-2C episode. It just reminded me of, yes. Yeah. It reminded me of like, let's get every weird fucking angle we can. Cut with shots of kids throwing toys at Voldar and shots of Santa Claus laughing like a fucking moron and giggling, and his eyes are crossed and he looks like he's high as fuck, while Voldar, a grown man covered in green paint and a green leotard with a fake mustache, is getting just pummeled with toys. And we're going to do that for 5 minutes. It's a fever dream. Absolutely is.
Well, Brian, we mentioned this movie is like 80-something minutes, but this movie has even more padding than John Carpenter's Halloween. Like, I think if there was a fan edit of this thing, I think this movie's probably just an hour.
Probably. I mean, if you give or take. I mean, there's a lot of parts of this that really are unnecessary. I mean, you mentioned the polar bear thing. You don't need that. I think that even the whole airlock, shootout scene, that's unnecessary. You don't really need that. Why? Because Voldar is going to be an asshole on the planet anyway. But lo and behold, the director felt, hey, yeah, we need to have a grown man inside of a polar bear suit and a grown man inside of a robot, which the robot turns into a toy. Did you notice that?
Oh, well, yeah. Santa thought it looked like a sex toy, and then he made it so.
He was like, oh, you're one of the biggest fucking toys I've ever seen.
Do you extend?
Do you, Osimo, are you a pleasure bot by any chance?
Lame.
Lame. Super lame. That's what he looked like. He looked like the Osimo 4000.
He did, yeah.
Oh my God. Oh fuck. But yeah, this movie ends with Santa Claus getting the ability to go back home because I guess Dropo was the Santa Claus that Mars needed all along, because of course he was. Because he's a fucking moron, but he, was able to fit into the suit now.
Every little kid is going to get a box of Dropo's feces under their Christmas tree.
They're not going to be feces, John. They're going to be hamburger pills.
Yeah.
Because that's what Martians eat. Hamburgers, sweet potatoes, and like buttered corn and chocolate cake in pill form.
Wait, does anybody else smell leaks and grundle sweat? Dropo's been here.
Now make sure, children, that you put out your hamburger and cheeseburger pills for Santa. I mean, Dropo.
Yeah.
Because he's got to eat that so he can get big and fat because he's got body dysmorphia.
And like a kennel puppy, he doesn't get enough iron, so make sure you leave a turd on the plate for him to lick too.
Yeah. And you just might find Dropo under the tree because apparently he sleeps under tables. Oh, that Dropo. Oh, fuck. But yeah, that's Santa Claus calling the Martians. Oh, we did. You know what? One thing we didn't mention. This has the most annoying theme song of all time. For Santa Claus. It's in public domain, John. I think you'd be okay. So one thing I noticed is that the theme song Hooray for Santa Claus is used throughout this entire movie as the main soundtrack, but it's just altered. That's another reason why I think that this is designed by TV people, because that's a common thing they did.
Right, when you only have like 3 pieces of music, including your main theme, you're just going to stretch that shit as much as you can.
Yeah, but it's an annoying song, but it will get stuck in your head. Like, don't you think? Like, you will get if you go and watch this, you will get that song stuck in your head.
Weirdly, I don't know any of the words. It's like da da ba da da ba da 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 ba da ba da ba. Hooray for Santa Claus. That's the only words I know. Yeah.
Oh, man. I got to ask you, John, if you did, okay, what is a reason you would go out and watch this movie? Like, what's a reason that you would go out and purposefully spend the time to watch it?
Well, most people aren't crazy like me. So I'd say, dear audience, if of Psychos Nation, first off, happy holidays. Secondly, if you love just batshit weird Christmas stuff, this is worth checking out. But not that I ever encourage drug or alcohol use, but this is something that you watch at a party with a bunch of your friends while you're participating in the token and the boozing, and you're all cracking jokes and you're all loose. Like, that's how you see this movie. This isn't a Wednesday at 7 p.m. by yourself watch. That is the worst thing you could ever fucking do to yourself. This is a party movie where you watch it and go, how was this ever made? That's I would say that's how you come across this movie.
I agree. I also would add that this is a movie that you have to watch with riff tracks. Like, you absolutely, that's the only way. And like, let's say you are watching it by yourself for whatever reason. Like, I don't know why you had a rough day at work and you needed a fucking laugh. Or you needed to like not think about something.
Or you had a great day at work, but you feel like you owe religious penance to your happiness.
Yeah, there you go. But I would say
flogging yourself.
There you go. You're flogging yourself. The only way that you can really enjoy this movie, if you are watching it and I look at it as like, you're not doing a podcast or you have to review it, is by watching the Riff Tracks version. Mystery Science Theater 3000 came out with their original version in 1991. And honestly, that gave this movie a second life. That's what kind of reintroduced it to, the masses as a cult film. And really, I think that is the only way that you can really enjoy this movie, is with having that kind of, comedic commentary there.
That's the first three ways that three times I saw this was Mystery Science Theater, because I think when Sci-Fi picked up the new episodes and the reruns, they would run this every Christmas time, and I loved it because I was listening to them crack jokes about it, and I've seen Riff Tracks live do it. I've watched it at home with Riff Tracks. I've seen it in a movie theater with other people. So yeah, it's always been an ironic viewing. It's never been like, well, it's the Christmas season, I think I'll watch White Christmas, It's a Wonderful Life, and Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. No, it doesn't squeak in there with all the other Christmas classics. It's always an ironic watch.
Yeah, no, I hate this movie. I hate it. I hate it, buddy. I hate this movie.
Yeah.
I watched it for the show. I watched it for you because I knew we needed to get it out of the way.
Right.
But I have no intention of ever watching this movie ever again.
Do you at least appreciate the absurdity of it? Like
I appreciate when the credits rolled. When the credits rolled and I realized it was done, I appreciated that. I was like, thank fucking God that it's over with. Because it's just like, it's not, I want to preface this by saying this isn't Neil Breen bad. Like, I would never say that Santa Claus Conquers the Martians is Neil Breen level bad. I don't think that there was malice in the filmmaking of this. I think they wanted to make a kids movie, but they just didn't know how to execute it properly. Okay. And they had no money at all. So that was it. But like Neil Breen, I have said, I think the man's a hack fraud. John, you've said you think he's a hack fraud too, and he's not getting better, right? Like, you don't get any better when you have more movies. Last one we reviewed, it was god awful.
You'd have to have a human central nervous system to get better.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think it's Neil Breen bad. It's not Tommy Was So Good. I'll give you that. But it's somewhere in the middle, I would say. It's not so awesome, it's so bad it's awesome, or awesomely bad. It is just bad, but it's not that it's not like, shit. I guess I'll call it that.
You're tearing me apart, Dropo.
Oh my God. Crossover of the century right there. Yeah. Dropo and Tommy Wiseau. But I do have some reviews. Okay, so it's review time. Woo! Review time now. I've got some reviews, John.
These are your Christmas presents to me. Yeah.
These are my Christmas presents to you.
They're wrapped. I don't know what's in the packages.
Yeah, I was going to say, John has not seen these. He does not know what they are. I've pulled these from Letterboxd. So let's go to our first one here. Sync your breathing to this movie to gain wisdom and insight.
There's somebody that's seen this maybe too many times.
Yeah, when you start to become Zen-like after watching this movie, that's when you should stop.
Yeah.
Okay, that's when you should stop. All right. Review number 2. They accidentally made a pretty good analogy for AI art in this movie. Yeah, if you really think about it, Santa in his workshop on Earth is making toys by hand with his elves. And yeah, goes to Mars and, Kimar gives him a fully automated factory that Santa's like, I have no joy because I just press a button and the toys come out.
I guess like,
interesting.
I don't. I'll be honest. I don't really know how like these AI images how they're created, but if like you put in like 60s cheap Santa Martians, yeah, I guess probably a lot of the images that we see in this movie would probably replicate very similar.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more like the whole analogy of him making toys through automation and technology rather than craftsmanship.
Assembly lines. Yeah.
Yes. And it's like you press a button and boom, there's a bat. And press a button and boom, there's a doll. Press a button and boom, there's this. So it's like, he even says, my finger is tired. I'm going to go rest my finger.
Which is what he says to Mrs. Claus every Saturday night.
Oh, you know, I was waiting for that. She does that whole like on TV orgasming.
Let me reach into my sack, darling.
Yeah. Gross. Okay, let's go to review number 3. I've attempted to watch this movie at least 5 times, and I've fallen asleep every single time, including in the middle of the day. I love bad movies, but this is just actually bad and not in an entertaining way. I understand completely. Completely.
To this person that left this review, like, I think you found a great sleep aid.
You know, that's
put this movie on every night.
It's true. I mean, I would not want to watch this every night. I think this would give me nightmares, especially if you fall asleep to this thing, because I don't know if you've ever had it where like you fall asleep to something that's on TV and you suddenly start dreaming about things based off of the sound coming from the TV. Like that's one of the weirdest fucking things ever. You're like, wait a minute, why am I dreaming about Coors Light? Oh, because there's a Coors commercial on that I'm sleeping through.
I had my buddy Blaze and we have the same birthday. So for years we would go to Cedar Point together. So we had like, he would always sleep over at my house the night before so we could hit the road for Sandusky, Ohio in the morning. And I remember in the morning I put on, and this is the early 2000s, I put on ESPN and there were a bunch of Carrot Top commercials for like 10, 10, 220. And Blaze woke up in the morning. He's like, wait, because he saw the commercial and he knew I was watching Sports Center. He's like, is that why I was dreaming that Carrot Top was pitching for the Yankees?
Wait a minute. Carrot Top's real?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say for those that can't stand bad movies or will tolerate them for a little bit, I wonder if there's anybody, and I guess I could volunteer as tribute, that will do a smash cut of this. It's half as long, because I feel that like 40 minutes out of the 80-minute runtime, and I don't know if that's the exact runtime, would people be like who tolerate bad movies would go, yeah, can we turn this off and watch something else? Like, so I wonder if
you're gonna have to. It's in public domain, John, so you could, if you wanted to, recut this.
I could just I could load it up and recut it. Yeah. I wish the music wasn't underneath. I wish I could find a version without the music, and I'll just, put it in myself, because that's really where it comes hard to make cuts.
You can use AI to go and strip out the dialogue.
AI. Yeah.
Strikes again. All right, let's get to our final review here. I can't believe I saw this in a theater and that the audience applauded. I can, however, believe that no one laughed at Dropo.
Oh, Dropo.
Oh, Dropo.
See, I can see people like, this is a communal movie. That's the only way to watch this. You have to watch it with other people. Again, if you're the type to imbibe, go ahead, do it responsibly. And to do that, and that's the only way to watch these things. Like for me, I could, not that I would plan to, but I could watch The Room by myself, because that's one of those, it's so bad it's good, it's fun, but there are certain ones that you have to watch with a group of people, like Manos, Hands of Fate, this one, other movies, that you need that community or else you're not going to be able to sit through it.
Yeah, I agree. And there's so many ones, like Cool Cat Saves the Kids. That's another one that I need to have like an audience to sit to watch that one.
Well, you need the therapy of being like, you have to ask questions like, how is this and how is this that? Like, or else you'll go insane.
Well, yeah, it's just you're sitting by yourself watching a terrible fucking movie, and in your monologue going like, why am I sitting here watching this? This is so stupid.
Yeah.
And you can't you can obviously verbalize it to yourself, but you look like a muttering fool when you're doing that. At least when you have a group of friends, you can all bounce each other where's Dropo at? Oh, he's under the table, you fucking moron.
Yeah.
Right there in front of you. No, the green Martian that's just laying there, not hidden under the table. So it's definitely a communal film. But if you try to watch this without any sort of complimentary comedic commentary, it's just bad. Has Row House played this movie?
That was the last time I saw it last year.
That was the last time you saw it last year? Was the crowd packed?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And it was it was encouraged minimal commentary at the screen. It was one of those don't interrupt the dialogue, don't go off on a rant. If you got a quick zinger, go ahead and add it. And it was that kind of atmosphere. All I basically did was just go vintage Dropo every time he did something. That was my only commentary.
Classic Dropo. Oh shit. Well, John, final thoughts on Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
If you're a purist on bad movies, you have to check it out. If you're not, then I would almost just look it up, because it's fascinating. A time capsule of just weird and bizarre shit from a certain period of time, and in the history of film, every period has them. The 10s, 20s, 30s to today. Megalopolis being a modern one. That
there's no Dropo in Megalopolis.
There should be. I mean, maybe John Voight.
Oh, John Voight and his boner. Dropo. That was Dropo. Classic Dropo right there.
Vintage John Voight. Yeah. But
his anaconda.
Yeah. This thing should be studied and examined. I'm not saying you have to watch it, but just be what a fascinating facsimile of a time and of independent film of a specific time frame that, to me, the movie's more fascinating than it is watchable or anything else. So you don't have to watch it, but I would say just maybe watch a trailer online and look up 10 minutes of research on it, just to be wow, I can't believe that movie was made. If you're not into really bad movies, if you are, then what are you waiting for? Go watch this movie.
If you're into bad movies, watch this with friends or with a commentary. Do not watch this by yourself because it's really fucking bad. I could see this being included in a college class about terrible cinema. That is for me. That is for me right there. The only time I could see that this being viewed as with any sort of serious mind of how, as you said, what makes a bad movie a bad movie? You can see it in spades with this one. And I go back to this, and I've said this before whenever we've talked about bad cinema, is that every single cult film, no matter what, starts with an idea that was rooted in earnest belief, right? The producer behind this movie wanted to make a movie for children because his background of working in children's television, saw that there was a gap there, but just lacked the skill set to execute it properly. And there you go. That's how really any sort of bad or cult film is made. It's rooted in that belief that you're making a difference with your film. So
you either have the vision, this big vision that you can't you can't actually make happen, or you think too small of the audience, and it'd be well, I know how to run cameras and lights, and they'll just like it because Santa Claus is in it. This is the latter. It's we'll just set up a couple of backdrops, a couple of lights, a couple of microphones, and put Santa Claus in it, and it'll be great because that'll be fine.
It'll be fine. It'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that we can now no longer watch this movie ever again. And I will never have to watch it again because it was bad. With it said, John, where can they find you at on the internet?
You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram. It's my normal name, so just check me out there. I'm not under any interesting usernames. And you can find me over at JDubs Video Nasties, where I'm finishing up my video on my check-in on Batman Returns. And I never once thought in my life that I would have Joseph Goebbels jerking off onto a Christmas tree, but here I am. That's in it. That's in the video.
Oh, now I can't wait to watch it. Now I can't wait to watch it.
Ich sprechen mein Pimmel an ein Tannenbaum. I'm spraying my penis on a Christmas tree.
You got to use your German, John.
I know, yeah, right?
I got to use 4 years German. There you go.
And I grabbed my recorder so I could do the sound of him jerking off, and I keyframed him jumping up and down behind the tree like he's really cranking one out.
So you got to have some fun. You got to have some fun with this one. You got to have some fun with this.
Christine's like, you put a lot of Nazis in your videos. I'm like,
I can't help it that they put Nazis in the movie. So there you go. Oh, shit. Well, of course, you can do me the favor of sharing this episode with anyone that you might think might enjoy it. If you maybe got a friend who really likes bad movies, or maybe you yourself love Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, and you think other people might like it, do me a favor. Share this episode out. That really does help us out. And of course, if you like this and you want to follow us, you can, of course, follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms by going to cinemapsychoshow.com/follow. That's where you can find all the little podcast buttons there. We got them there. You just click one and boom, you can subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. And of course, if you're watching us here on YouTube, do me the favor. See right down there in the bottom, there's a little thing that asks you to like and subscribe and hit the bell and hit the thumbs up. All of those things help this podcast out, help us get into the algorithm more and more, and share this out with the world, which is what we want to do. And of course, if you want more Cinema Psycho Show, do me the favor of subscribing to our weekly newsletter. I don't know what John and I are going to talk about in our bonus episode for this week. That's going to come out right after we're done here. But what do you get with that? You get the episode emailed to you every Friday. Okay, I have yet to miss one. Okay, I tried really hard not to miss a Friday. So you get your episode delivered to you right to your email every Friday. I also include a bonus video-only episode that only goes out to the newsletter. That is something that is only going to be just whatever we happen to be talking about after we're done recording. You'll get that every Friday, but do that by subscribing to the newsletter. The link for it is in the description of this episode. Okay? Do me that favor so you never miss an episode. And with that said, we'll see you next time.
Happy Kwanzaa to those who celebrate.